We've all seen them, right? Those huge machines on construction sites with the powerful arms. They're always moving so deliberately, so carefully. Makes you wonder about the folks behind the controls.
Excavator operators.
Exactly. And today, we're digging deep into that career path. We're joined by the amazing resources of RoleCatcher.com, which is kind of like our treasure map for today.
Love the analogy.
So we'll uncover what they do all day, where they work the whole 9 yards. Think you might want to be an excavator operator.
Let's find out.
All right, let's start with the basics. What exactly do these folks do? Besides, dig holes, which is what most people picture, right?
Well, digging is a big part of it. But it's more than just holes in the ground. Think bigger. Laying the foundation for a skyscraper.
Whoa, okay, now we're talking.
Or how about dredging harbors so those massive ships can get through? Or even something closer to home, like digging out for a pool. All in a day's work for an excavator operator.
Wow, so we're talking about building essential stuff shaping the world around us. From huge construction projects to everyday things. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just a construction industry thing, is it?
Nope, not at all. Think
Yeah.
mining, forestry, landscaping, even stuff like disaster relief sometimes. Excavator operators are needed across a bunch of different industries.
It's gotta be good for job security, right?
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of, RoleCatcher points out that the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects 4% growth in these roles through 2029.
So it's a stable career choice. That's
Yeah.
good to know. But let's be real for a second. It's not all like perfectly sculpted landscapes and shiny new buildings, is it? What about the not so glamorous side?
You got it. It's not always pretty. We're talking long hours. It's physically demanding, and you're out there in all kinds of weather.
Yeah, I bet some good rain gear is a must-have.
Absolutely.
Still, RoleCatcher mentioned some pretty sweet perks. High demand, competitive pay, and you get to actually see the results of your work. Plus, it sounds like there's a lot of variety and room to move up, right?
Totally. But, those downsides, we talked about the physical part, the long hours, sometimes having to work on location for a while. Got to make sure that all works for you, personality-wise.
It's all about finding the right fit for you, for sure. So let's say you're up for those challenges. What does the typical career path look like?
Well, RoleCatcher lays it out pretty clearly. You start as an entry-level operator, and from there you can move up to senior excavator operator.
Okay, so there's a path for growth there.
Yeah.
I'm always curious, though, about how the actual work changes as you gain experience. Like, what are some of the big differences between those entry-level tasks and, what a seasoned pro handles?
Think of it like leveling up in a video game.
I like it.
You start by, assisting with site prep, learning the ropes from a more experienced operator, but as you gain skills, you get more responsibility. As a senior operator, you might be overseeing entire projects, managing teams.
Whoa, that's a big jump.
It is, but it shows you there's a path to work towards.
So you work your way up, taking on more responsibility. That makes sense. RoleCatcher also mentioned something about, continuous learning being important in this field.
Yeah.
What does that look like for, someone who wants to be an excavator operator?
Yeah, it's not like, you learn it once and you're good to go forever. Technology's always changing, right? Think about GPS-guided excavators, and those telematic systems are pretty wild stuff.
High tech.
Yeah, so you got to keep up with those changes, maybe go for some certifications to stay on top of your game.
So it's a good field for someone who likes to keep learning new things.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. And speaking of getting an edge, I gotta say, RoleCatcher has some pretty cool tools for job seekers.
For real. That interview question database they have is a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, imagine walking into an interview feeling totally prepared and confident no matter what they ask you.
No more sweaty palms, right?
Exactly.
I love it. And what about that AI thing they have for analyzing your CV? Sounds kind of futuristic, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. But it's actually super helpful. Basically, it helps your CV stand out,
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, it analyzes your skills, your work experience, all that, and compares it to what excavator operator employers are looking for.
So it's like tailoring your CV to each job.
It's like having a personal marketing expert, but for your resume.
That's really cool. And with the job market being so competitive these days, every little bit helps, right?
Definitely.
Honestly, every time we do one of these RoleCatcher deep dives, I'm more and more impressed by the stuff they offer.
Me too. It's clear they really want to help people find the right career.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about what excavator operators do day to day, the industries they work in, that career path we were talking about, even how RoleCatcher can give you an advantage in your job search. What else is there?
Well, we talked about the challenges being physically fit, the long hours, working outside.
Right.
But we should also mention the feeling of accomplishment. Building something tangible, seeing a project finished.
And knowing you're a part of it,
Exactly.
that's got to feel good.
It really does.
Yeah, it's like you're literally building the world around us.
Yeah.
Roads, bridges, even just someone's backyard patio. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. And I think that's something that makes this career path kind of special. You're not just punching a clock. You're building something real, something that matters.
Totally. Okay, so before we wrap things up here, I always like to look ahead a bit. Anything about the future of excavation that you find particularly interesting?
That's a good one. The whole automation thing is really changing things up.
Oh, right. Like self-driving cars, but for excavators.
Exactly.
Right.
GPS-guided machines, even some that are practically self-operating. It's pretty wild. Makes you wonder what the role of the operator will even be in the future.
That's a really good point. It seems like automation is popping up everywhere these days. So for someone thinking about this as a career, what does that mean?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Will it be a total shift? Or will those human skills, like thinking on your feet, making judgment calls in the moment, will those still be important? It's hard to say for sure, but it'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Maybe something we revisit in a future deep dive. But for now, if you're intrigued by all this and want to learn more, I highly recommend checking out RoleCatcher.com.
Totally agree. Their guides and tools are super helpful, especially that interview prep stuff. It's like having a cheat sheet for your job search.
For real. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up our excavator operator deep dive. Huge thanks to RoleCatcher.com for the awesome insights, and to you, our listeners, for joining us. Until next time, keep those career goals in sight and keep on digging.